Welcome to the Prime Health Podcast with your host, Dr. Derek Barron. Dr. Barron interviews doctors, wellness experts, and healthcare leaders who are revolutionizing how we approach health and longevity. The Prime Health Podcast explores breakthrough science, personal and patient stories, and practical insights that are shaping the future of health and wellness. So sit back, listen in, and prepare to transform how you think about your path towards Prime Health with Dr. Barron and his special guest.
Hello, my name is Dr. Derek Barron, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Prime Health Podcast. We interview doctors, nurses, wellness experts, and healthcare leaders who are revolutionizing how we approach health and longevity. We explore breakthrough science, personal and patient stories, and practical insights that are shaping the future of health and wellness. Now, before we get into today's episode and our amazing guest, a quick note from our sponsor, Grow Solutions. We are your growth partner for your business, especially for those that are busy health and wellness professionals. We work to eliminate some of the biggest headaches in your practice, whether that's client or patient generation, improving patient communication, some social media work, processes, systems, and frameworks, and yes, of course, AI. It's kind of working itself in. We want to help practices so they can get away from practice and enjoy life more. We're not a vendor. We are a partner in your growth. So if you have ever said this to yourself before, I'm too busy to grow, too slow to scale, or too overwhelmed to fix it, we can help. We just want to help you learn more. If we can, drop the word growth below. I'll reach out to you, or feel free to reach out on any social media links. Let's dive into today's episode and highlight the star of our podcast. I'm excited to introduce you to Katie Garrott. She has 7 years of health coaching experience, followed by 8 years as a functional medicine nutritionist. She achieved a master's degree in functional medicine and clinical nutrition in 2017, followed shortly by her CNS board certification. After several years of receiving mentorship at a women's hormone clinic, she opened her own practice in 2019, VivaWise Functional Wellness. It quickly grew to having 5 providers. That's fantastic growth. To equip other practitioners to obtain similar success with less effort, she shares her resources, research, and experience through her new program called the Functional Practitioner Academy. Katie, I want to welcome you to the Prime Health Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to talk more about how we can support other practitioners in the health and wellness space.
Love it. We all can use assistance, even whether we think it or not. It's always good to have a mentor on board with us along the way. So I want to start this off, Katie, by saying, was there an issue, an episode, something that happened in your life that said, you know what, I need to go into healthcare?
Yes. I first started getting interested in healthcare when I was just a preteen, actually, because my mother had fibromyalgia. And this is the mid-90s when people didn't know what that was. And so all the recommendations she was getting from doctors and therapists was actually making all her symptoms much worse. So we would see her try to seek out healthcare and then come home, and it would greatly negatively impact our family. And that started to get those wheels spinning of, okay, conventional medicine is missing something. So she started to buy some medical encyclopedias and some books in order to try to figure out how she could fix herself. And as a good middle child, I decided to join her in that mission. We need to get our family back together. And so I started reading health books in middle school and always started to just really love that field of how it could really change people's lives, because we had been so negatively impacted by her not being able to function well. And then in college, I traveled abroad. I lived in Central America for 3 months, and I got, let's see, what was it? It was E. coli in Mexico, Salmonella in El Salvador. And by the time I returned to the U.S., I was hospitalized in the U.S., so I was hospitalized in those other countries for an amoeba parasite. And that just initiated a whole bunch of new issues. In just a few months, I gained 20 pounds. I developed IBSD. I had severe acne. I became a totally different person. And so I needed conventional medical care. But for things like autoimmune disease and IBS, there was really no suggestions. And so I wasn't getting the help that I needed. And it was kind of just, well, try another antibiotic, try this antibiotic, see if this will do it. And I needed to dive even deeper into my interest with healthcare. And that's what really solidified me finding functional medicine and using it as a method to achieve wellness.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you had to experience those things from your mom and yourself to get, the insights into it. But it often happens that when it's affected us personally, get on that mission to make a change, of course, in ourselves. And it's always great to help one another in that point in time. So we've got a couple of interesting topics, your own practice and now your new phase of how you're helping other practitioners. So would you mind kind of sharing a little bit of the story of your own functional medicine practice, VivaWise?
Yeah. So I started VivaWise Functional Wellness in 2019, just really as a way to be able to treat patients the way that I best saw fit. Because of the clinic that I was at before, there was a lot of limitations on me. And I just didn't, there was just this lack of integrity of, I think this could really help this person and I can't recommend it. And so I did not want to be a business owner or start a practice. I love being with people. I did not want to go alone, but I was like, if I'm going to go alone, I'm just going to make it super minimal, like not big stress. I don't have these huge goals. I just want to help people. And God had different plans for me. So within 3 months, I had a full schedule. I totally did not expect that. And within 6 months, I was booked out several months and not being able to help people who needed it at that time. And that's when I had started to hire people. I only hired because there were people who needed help and couldn't receive it because I couldn't provide it to them. And I'm in Fort Worth. And at the time, I didn't know other people that I could recommend to. Since the pandemic, since the shutdown, we've had a ton of new functional practitioners in the space. But before the pandemic, there really wasn't. So the only way I saw to help these people was to bring on someone else. And 3 months after training her and getting her seeing patients, she was booked out. And so I just kept doing that until we finally reached an equilibrium at 5 providers. And at that point, I had done so much training because there were 2 other providers that I had trained, and then one got pregnant, one moved away. And so I had to, end up training more people. And I had put together so many resources, things that I started off just writing down for myself so that I remember it, because I always love to look at the research whenever I'm going to make a recommendation to a patient. I might hear something on a webinar or something that another functional practitioner told me is working, and I'm always going to go actually read the studies in PubMed before I feel confident enough to give it to a client. So I had gathered a lot of information, and the people that I had trained, my staff members, were part of different training organizations where they got their certifications or degree, and they said that their colleagues were really struggling. They were trying to, start their own practice or help patients, and were just really having a hard time either recruiting clients or being able to get their patients results. And they're like, it would be so great if they had all of these resources that you've given to me, if we could share them with other people. And I was like, oh man, that's like a whole nother business. Like, I'm already way more invested here than I was planning originally. And so I put it off. But like after a year of hearing that and it kind of weighing on me, again, just this idea that there's people out there that I could be helping, that I wouldn't take a crazy amount of effort because I have the baseline of the resources. It just felt really selfish to keep them to ourselves. So I embarked on a 1.5 year long project of taking all of these shorthand notes in Dropbox and Drive and all over the place and turning it into one organized knowledge base that I spent my evenings and weekends on, and filling out the research and that I had in my head that I needed to put on paper. And I did all of that just knowing, okay, if I sacrifice for this 1.5 years, that could be hundreds or thousands of people that don't have to sacrifice their evenings and weekends. I did not have children yet. I was like, this is a unique time and this could serve so many people. So we have finally finished the knowledge base and have recruited a first group into the Functional Practitioner Academy.
Cool. Well, congratulations on that. The hard work. It's not easy to do, but I think you wrapped it up well by saying this is the ability to help more people, which is the important part. So we'll talk about the Functional Medicine Practitioner Academy in a short bit, but what I want you to kind of tell us a little bit about is who makes up the current team of VivaWise.
Yeah. So we've got, so I still am a full-time clinician. So I still see about 20 hours of patients per week. And we do a lot of, like, for every hour patient, we're just spending an hour on their plan and their charting and their messaging and things like that. And then I've got 2 other full-time nutritionists, and we've got 2 part-time health coaches that help our patients implement the treatment plans. So we kind of work the same way that like a doctor coach model would. And we evaluate our patients, create treatment plans, and our health coaches implement that, which reduces the cost to the patient and allows us to be able to see and evaluate and treat more people as well as making it easier for us to have a fuller staff without having to train every person in everything that we do. Right. Yeah. So I'd have someone helping a coach and they don't really know how to interpret labs, or they don't know how to run, create a detox plan for a person. So it makes it easier for me to hire and to serve more clients as well. And then we have a client care coordinator. And so she is our admin, and she just keeps everything running smoothly in the background for us.
Yeah, love it. It's great to hear. Teamwork makes the dream work, they do say. So you can go so far by yourself, but a team will help you take yourself much further. And as long as you're both on the same mission, or all on the same mission at the same time, which is great.
Right.
Still in VivaWise, how do you deal with some of the misconceptions that people are experiencing or maybe bring to your attention with regards to functional medicine treatment versus why can't I just go to my primary care doctor? Nothing against them, but how's it different?
Yes. And in this response, practitioners can really benefit from as well. Patients will have this idea, because this is what conventional medicine teaches, that you are able to diagnose what the issue is through a lab. And then you provide some type of, treatment that is someone can consume, and that fixes the problem. And that's reflected by the change in the lab results.
Okay.
That's not really how it works with dysfunction in the body. For example, most people who have fatty liver have completely normal, if not even optimal, liver enzymes. And yet their liver is really struggling and is completely dysfunctional. So when patients come to us and they're like, well, my labs are normal, so like, what else is there to do? We have to kind of train them. Well, one, we look at labs differently than conventional providers do. And we also look at different lab markers than they do. But also, I can get so much knowledge on what your dysfunctions are by just talking to you. So patients are so used to like, well, how are you going to evaluate me if I haven't already done the labs before the appointment? And we're like, your story, it means so much. It tells us so much. We can look at your history of exposures and the symptom patterns that you have and the trends that you've experienced in your condition. And that will be able to tell us a lot about what your root causes are, because there's always the deepest root causes are always going to come down to diet and lifestyle. If you find something abnormal on a stool test, you have some type of bacterial overgrowth per se. Well, how did that bacterial overgrowth get there? That bacterial overgrowth is not the root cause. It's just a signal of what the deepest root cause was, which is maybe you are eating your meals erratically and under stress, right? Or maybe you're eating too close to bedtime and you're not digesting that food. Or maybe your immune system is suppressed because you don't have enough nutrients, or you have too high stress. So there's these deeper root causes that we can learn just by talking to a patient. So when they realize the importance of the diet and lifestyle, and that labs are filling in the gaps and they're helping us get more specific, but they're not what you base your health on, that really helps them to kind of let go of some of those pressures they might put on themselves to, get that cholesterol under 200. And that's when everything's good, and really focus more so on the habits and the process rather than just this outcome.
So you bring up a point that from testing. So are there multiple types of tests, blood drawing? You said stool samples. Are there different types of tests that a majority of your patients will go through? Majority
would go through just pretty simple blood work up front. We do run markers that doctors don't, things like free T3 to actually assess the thyroid gland output. People are always like, oh, I got my thyroid tested, and they had TSH, and we're like, did you know that's not even a thyroid hormone? That's from your brain. And so we will run markers that maybe doctors haven't, but it's not usually things that would be big, expensive panels in functional medicine, because we don't need it. We can tell so much by looking at ratios. There's actually really good research showing that a neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio on a CBC is way better of a marker of inflammation than ESR, CRP, IL-6, all these, other lab markers, some of them, less expensive, some of them kind of more experimental and highly expensive. And a simple CBC can tell you the person has inflammation. So yeah, we do try to keep it a little bit more simple, which makes it less overwhelming for the patient. And it also helps to make it more cost effective. And if the patient's not burning through money and the first 2 appointments meeting with you, they have the ability to stick with you. And when they can stick with you, they're going to get better results. And that's what's going to draw more people to your practice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the commitment level. There, unfortunately, because it is typically a cash-based model, there's always the issue when it comes to finances. But I like your approach on how simplistic doesn't mean it's simple. It means it's important, and you're really truly getting to the details. It's in front
Mhm.
of you. Just research a little bit more, like you say,
Yeah.
which is great. Yeah. From your VivaWise, is there a what are the common conditions that walk through your doors or come through your virtual component of your practice?
Yeah, the most common symptoms that we see are going to be fatigue, gut issues, and weight issues. Some people, it's, they're gaining weight. Some people, they have a hard time gaining weight, or they've been losing weight unexpectedly. So those are the most common symptoms. In terms of conditions, we see a lot of hormonal conditions, PCOS, endometriosis, infertility, PMS, autoimmune disease, and then gut-related conditions like IBS and SIBO and yeast overgrowth or IBD. So those are the most common things we work with, but we definitely do have those patients that were referred by someone else, and they might have cancer or a skin condition, or it's a child dealing with a mental health condition. And so it's kind of fun to be able to work with people that we don't know as much about, get to be learning experiences, we get to grow through. But those are the majority of our patients.
Okay. Do you see an equal amount, or are you heavier on one, male to female in your practice?
It's probably 80% female,
Yeah.
20% male. So, it's always the case in healthcare. Females are a lot more willing to seek out help for their health issues, and also to just be aware of them. It's very common that we will evaluate a male and he's like, no, everything's fine, fine with this. And then we'll do a lab review and be like, this is telling me that you actually are inflamed. And you're like, yeah, I do have joint pain in every joint in my body, and it hurts every day, but I don't take medication for it. It's fine. It's like, that
Oh,
would count as a symptom.
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
That's good. That's good. So within that regards, for you to see such a vast array of patients in your practice from when you first started to where you've gone through many of them, what do you think you did in your practice that's different than maybe others to build trust, to build that patient rapport, to bring more in?
Yeah, we always like to say that we go for the most minimal amount of intervention for the maximum amount of results. And
Okay.
that's kind of flipping functional medicine on its head. Typical motto in a functional medicine practitioner would be test, don't guess. And so
Hmm.
sometimes people are doing $1,500 worth of tests in the beginning, and they're being diagnosed with like 15 different conditions. And it gets really overwhelming really fast. They're doing super restrictive elimination diets. They're, doing 20 supplement protocols. They're trying to clean up their toxins. They can just get burnt out. And then oftentimes they end up at our door as a response. And so we're always trying to calm the person's nervous system, since stress is one of the biggest root causes for why someone's having health issues in the first place. If we have the best protocol in the world, it addresses every dysfunction you can imagine, but it creates more stress for the patient, they're actually not going to get much better.
Hmm.
So we have to look at more than just what this can do to biology. We kind of have to, look at that whole terrain of that person and understand how what we're going to recommend is going to impact them. Because if it isolates them from other people, or it keeps them up late at night or waking up in the morning so they can try to get everything done, or they're feeling like a failure because they're not getting everything done, they're really not in much of a healing state.
Yeah.
So we're very different in that we're trying to go for the deepest root causes as the majority of our time spent with the patient, what we're talking to them about. And we're just only adding in the more advanced functional things as needed to get the patient results.
Right.
So, and probably 80% of our patients, we don't do the big functional medicine tests like a stool test or adrenal hormones or food sensitivity, because they're able to reach their goals without it.
Oh, that's fantastic. I don't hear that too often. So you're taking, again, the simple, the minimalist approach. But however, if you don't get the results you want or your client wants, you'll take the next step, which is
Right.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So from 2019, when you started, to today, I know it's difficult because you've got multiple providers in your practice, but you feel as though there are more people searching for functional medicine providers.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's absolutely took off during the shutdown, both in terms of the people that were reading about it, because everyone started looking at alternative opinions, right, on health.
Mm-hmm.
It brought up so many concerns about our healthcare system and about what makes us susceptible to having really bad infections, that patients started to, really think about their health in a different way. And at the same time, those who were already working the conventional system were seeing the same things. And they were thinking, I want out of this system. It's not really getting what I came into medicine for. And started doing programs and training programs in 2021 on. It's just been an explosion of providers as well as people seeking out functional medicine care.
That'll lead us into our question about your new academy, but I do want to ask, in your personal practice, can you share a success story of a patient that, where they came in, they were kind of hopeless and they became hopeful and they were very happy with care at the end?
Yes, I have a patient that has been seeing me for a handful of years, and she came to us with lymphangiectasia, which is a gastrointestinal condition where the lymphatic system is all blocked up, and so it creates leakage from the circulatory system into the intestines. So that creates diarrhea, but it also creates severe malnutrition. So she came to me at a really low weight. It was just constantly falling off, and then she didn't feel like there was anything she can do about it. And with constant diarrhea, and doctors are kind of like, well, this is the condition that you have, and there's really like no cure for it. So, it's kind of just gotta make it through, hopefully. And she had all kinds of abnormal labs, and we were able to very quickly, even though this is supposed to be, I'm not treating this condition, right? I'm treating the patient. I'm like, let's just give your body what it needs. Let's see what it can do. Let's see what kind of self-healing it can have. And through changing diet, adding in supplementation, trying to rebalance the gut flora, addressing stress, she has been able to gain over 20 pounds, which she didn't think was possible, normalize a lot of her labs, totally normalize her bowel movements, which is also not supposed to be something that happens with those in lymphangiectasia. And again, it was I wanted to highlight that because it's not like I'm an expert in that condition. It's not like I am, doing all of the research on, the minutia of how the lymphatic system works in the gastrointestinal tract. It is really kind of simple for functional medicine because of that primacy of diet and lifestyle. When you really can get those things into a good place, it's amazing what the body can do. You can never test for and treat every bacteria that lives out there, every virus, every parasite, or, every toxin, right? You have to rely, everyone does to some degree, on the body just being able to take care of those things for you. And it's a matter of removing as many dysfunctions as you can, adding in as many things as you can to help the body function until it reaches that tipping point where it's healing itself.
Yeah. Well, that's be honest, I've not heard of that diagnosis before. So thanks for sharing that. I'm sure that's got to be a difficult one to deal with. And for the amount of weight loss that she's been suffering, that's a great turnaround story for that patient. So not only did you impact her, I'm sure you impacted friends and family for her, because I'm sure they were very concerned about her. So you've got success with patients, you've got success with practice, you've had some little birdies on your shoulder say, hey, you're successful, how can you help us? That made you transition into creating the Functional Medicine Practitioner Academy. So explain to us, again, I know you kind of started this at the beginning, but why did you start that? And, where do you see that moving forward?
Yeah, so it's, has this ability to provide clinicians with what all the research is, as well as our own clinical experience, because there's some things that are discovered in research that you find out don't really end up working well in the practice. You might not be able to get a patient to follow that protocol, or might be at way too high of a dose. It's cost prohibitive, or, it says 17% improvement in this symptom. Is the client really going to be able to tell that they're 17% better on something, So even though sometimes there's statistically significant benefits in a research study, doesn't always translate well to the clinic. So since we have 5 providers, we've treated close to 2,000 clients. And so we have all of that experience that we can share, as well as all the research that we've collected over the years. For those who are evidence-based, it can be really overwhelming, and you can get stuck pretty quickly, because you're like, okay, I know I want to help this person with their blood pressure, and I've heard magnesium's good, but what dose and which type and how long do they need to take it? And so many practitioners they get stuck. There's this analysis paralysis. There's this lack of confidence, this lack of certainty, and that's going to translate to your patient. right? If you're like, well, you could try this and we'll see, like that's not going to help the patient take action on that recommendation. So I wanted to be able to, knowing for myself, for me to be confident, I needed to have more solid knowledge. And then I needed to try it out in some patients and see how it works. And I usually try everything out myself too, before I end up recommending it. I wanted to just take all that experimentation and free up other people because to be honest, I have worked 60, sometimes 70 hours, majority of the last 5 years. Because I'm passionate about it and because it doesn't feel like working most of the time, right? It's an intentional decision that I've made. So that does help to mitigate some of the stress of those hours because I'm aware of the research on excessive work hours, how that impacts health. And so I wanted to be like, okay, I have this, unique ability, this unique passion, this unique time with my, family development. And so I want to take advantage of it as much as possible so that everyone else can get those benefits without having to put in that investment.
Yeah. So you didn't struggle, but you had many that have said we're struggling. So can you maybe lay out a little bit of if when somebody goes to join, what do they see inside the Functional Medicine Practitioner Academy?
Yeah, so it's got 3 main components. One, there is a training course. And that's where everyone needs to start because it helps you to have the right perspective for implementing what's in the knowledge base. If you just have knowledge, but you don't know what to do with it, it's not very useful, right? And that's why patients come to see us. They could find anything out online about how to treat their condition, but you have to have the skills, and the ability to implement that information correctly for it to work. And so that's what the training course does. It provides that soft skills component, how to think about things, how to adapt to the person in front of you, how to choose which parts of the knowledge base to implement when. And so we've got that good video courses. That's like 6 months, of course, there. And then we also have the knowledge base. The knowledge base, it's like a Wikipedia for functional medicine. So you can type in vitamin C to the search bar and you'll see a vitamin C supplement page. You'll see health conditions that are related to vitamin C deficiency. You'll see supplement protocol recommendations on how to use vitamin C. You can do the same thing for like the bacteria H. pylori. Type it in and there's a lab page for it. How do you test for H. pylori? How do you interpret that? And there's going to be a list of conditions that H. pylori could be causing. So it helps you to put those puzzle pieces together. Okay, I just discovered my patient has this. What could that be connected to? You can type it in the search bar and kind of see. And then each page, some of the pages, like for example, page on an inflammatory marker, CRP, might be like 12 pages long if you were to print it to a PDF as one web page. And it will tell you like all the root causes for why this might be elevated. And it will provide the PubMed or the research citation for it, and then give you ideas of what to do in order to improve it. So that's the knowledge-based component. And we last have the community. And that's because 1, we're all going to be able to show up better as a practitioner when we have support from others. 2, you can have all of this knowledge, but then when you mix it together into a patient, they're going to complicate it all, right? And so it can be really helpful to bounce ideas. Okay, I've done this for this person. They responded this way. What does that mean? And then the community is also a place to share knowledge so that we can continue adding to the knowledge base and make it better. And there's going to be every month, there's new labs, supplements, protocols that come out, new health conditions that are created. And so we're just going to need to be always updating it to stay relevant to what the research is showing. And so by having a bunch of brilliant minds together, we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, I love that. 3 components is great. 6 months of training is fantastic. That's amazing. So who's ever in the academy, they're fortunate for that. So I'll ask how people can get into it at one point here, but I do want to say for the people that you work with, meaning your clients that are the functional medicine practitioners, do you help them if they have a brick and mortar business and see people in their community? Can you also help them if they see people virtually?
Great question. So we can help both. The person that we don't help is those who do only group programs because we haven't done them ourselves. But our practice is both virtual and brick and mortar. Half of our providers are local and see patients in person. Half are virtual and see them virtually only. We have one who, before she went on maternity leave, was in Massachusetts, and another one who lives in Oregon. And then we've got 3 that are here in Texas. So we do help people to be able to figure out how to make that work when you're doing both that virtual or that in person, one or the other, and we do a little bit of business information in there as well. So it is mostly the clinical side, but there is just kind of sharing what we have found to be effective for us for being able to attract prospects.
Yeah. So do you run webinars monthly to try and educate the people that are in your group?
So this is one thing that makes us really unique in terms of the business aspect of our practice is we don't do any of the typical marketing that you would expect. All of our marketing is through people. And so it is all through referrals, both with clients as well as with other local providers. So we get our name out whenever we can to counselors and physical therapists and physicians, anyone that is within a space that talks with clients who are having issues that they could speak to about us. So we do maybe some lunch and learns here and there, but most of it is kind of just connecting one-on-one with other people that were like, we have a patient tell us, oh, I've had a great experience with this person who helped me with this health issue. We're like, give us their name. We want to talk to them. And we can add them to our referral network, which allows us to provide more value to our clients. And then that person that we met with and made sure that we would want to refer to them can also add us to their network and refer patients to us. So that is how we get most of our patients. We do get, Google search as well. So we've made sure to optimize our Google listing over the years. And that probably makes up less than a quarter of the clients that we get. And in the beginning, especially the first couple of years, it was just all referrals coming from other providers and then coming from our patients is the majority, where they got great results and they really liked what we stood for. And they knew how to talk about us to other, to their loved ones, because we kind of repeat certain phrases that help us to be branded so they know what makes us unique, so you can communicate that with others.
Okay. So if people are listening and or watching and they're a functional medicine provider themselves, how can they gain access to the Functional Medicine Practitioner Academy?
Yes. So we did recently just do our first beta launch. And I wanted to encourage anyone listening, if there is anything, whether it be a group program or it be a service to other providers that you're thinking about offering, to just take that leap and do it. I told you I've been working on this for 1.5 years, very intensely. That's a long time of doing something without ever putting it out there. And eventually I did make that decision. Okay, I'm just going to launch it. I wasn't finished yet, but that's why I did a beta group. And I only emailed 30 local providers that I knew that I've met in person before. So I just took the 30 people, it's the only people I ever told about it. And 11 people got into the academy from that. Yeah. So we started off with, our soft launch where I did a 25 minutes video with 2 people showed up out of those 30 people. And then I recorded it and sent it out to the list. And now we actually do have a small community, even though I hadn't completed it yet. And that's why I discounted it and told them they're part of the beta group, right? So there's that kind of low expectation. You don't put that pressure on yourself to make it perfect. And they've had a fantastic experience in the beta. We've gotten amazing feedback. So we're now offering it for anyone to enter through our website. So you can go to fxpractitioner.com and you can click on the Academy to hear more about it. You can see inside, there's a video kind of showing you what it offers. And you can either just join our newsletter if you just want to learn more about how we work, or you can join the Academy.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. And again, I'll make sure to add those links in below here for sure, without a doubt. So in either your current practice or the Functional Medicine Academy, where do you see the focus of that? Where are you working on those businesses right now? Where are you putting your effort into those businesses?
Yeah, so I am trying to mostly maintain with VivaWise and always learning how to delegate better and how to empower my current staff there to be able to take on more responsibilities. And then with the Functional Practitioner Academy, that's where I'm really focusing my growth. So over the next several years, I want to see it grow into a thriving community of hundreds of practitioners where we're all sharing knowledge with each other. And this is getting so many more clients, amazing results. And that way I'm also able to just help not only the practitioners, but I'm able to help their clients indirectly, through supporting them.
Yeah. That's a way I look at this myself. I don't longer treat patients. It's, if someone's listening, whether it's a clinician, whether it's a patient, they hear something that can help them in business or in their life, it's a way for me to be able to give back so I can understand completely why it helps you. When you can help another practitioner to grow their business, that means they're getting a broader reach locally or virtually, however they can do that in their business.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's great. I want you to brag a little bit about yourself here. And what I mean by that is, what do you feel that you do different in your practice than anyone else that's out there?
So I think it would be a summary because I've highlighted some of those throughout this call today. So some of those things would be starting a lot smaller, starting more so based off of listening. So really emphasizing the listening and the empathy and kind of bringing it down to the basics. Trying to not accumulate expenses and diagnoses throughout the process, which is very easy to do in functional medicine. And then not really using a lot of marketing tools, but really using people as my main resource. And I think that as we go forward into this new generation of AI everything, that's probably going to turn out well, that people are going to really value hearing something from someone else. Because it will be a little bit harder to know what to trust, on digital formats. And so I'm going to kind of continue to double down on that and just networking and meeting people and sharing about what we do.
Yeah. So just a couple more questions for you here, Katie. But if you had mentioned your Functional Medicine Academy site, but if people want to learn about your current practice where you're at or the Functional Medicine Academy, can you again share those links, or how would you like them to reach out to you?
Yeah, the best way would be to go to the FX. So it's FXP is kind of the short version of it, which is Functional Practitioner Academy. So fxpractitioner.com is going to be your hub for everything. You can definitely learn a lot more about our approach through our YouTube channel. I did put a kind of mini course on there that's a 4 video series to see more about how we approach helping patients with their issues and how to organize your treatment plan in the best way for it to be well tolerated and for the results to be sustainable. So that's a good place to learn more about us.
So if you can get me that link, I'll share that as well so people can get to that. And
yes, you got it.
So 2 more questions. One here, overall health. If there's one piece of advice through all the years you've gained the knowledge that you've done, if there's one piece of advice, which I understand that's hard, but one piece of advice, if possible, that you could suggest people to improve their overall health, what would that be?
So I'm going to cheat a little bit.
Okay,
it is one piece of advice, but it's very broad and it incorporates a lot of things. And that is optimizing your circadian rhythm. Is not something that a lot of people would think about, but it has such broad reaching effects on all aspects of health. So optimizing your circadian rhythm means, when do you wake up in the morning? When do you start eating? When do you finish eating? When do you go to bed? When do you get exposed to light? When do you get exposed to sunlight? These things will do so much to regulate your health on autopilot rather than you having to force your body into things. So better aligning your sleep habits, your exercise, your eating with the circadian rhythm, your time outdoors will pay off a lot more than the investment that you put in it.
Yeah. Well, that's a great share. I'll let you slide. It was a great share by people to think about that. So you are a guest on the Prime Health podcast. Of course, I appreciate that. I appreciate everything you shared. But if you could give the definition of what do you feel Prime Health is?
I think it boils down to being able to live the life that you desire. I think Prime Health is not your morning routine. It's not what your cholesterol panel shows. It's not even how much grass-fed beef you consume versus conventional beef. It really comes down to, are you living the life you desire? You could be having a soda once a week, an alcoholic beverage once a week, having added sugar, dessert every single day in small quantities. But if you are feeling the way you want to feel, doing the things you want to do in your life, your health is not holding you back, then you are living your version of prime health. And you're going to, there's so many studies on long-lived populations, and some of them smoke and some of them drink and some of them eat terribly, right? But they are living on purpose. They are living on mission. They are living a life that feels joyful and feels satisfying and filled with contentment. So I think that's really prime health. It's so easy to use your number on the scale or how much money you're making as that sign of how well you're doing, right? But it really comes down to your own contentment. Like that's what's really going to allow you to feel satisfied in your life.
Yeah, very good. Everybody's unique and different in their definition, so I appreciate yours. I love it. It's very good. Katie, as we wrap up here, I truly want to say thank you for spending time here on a Friday with us. It's very important. I hope you enjoy your weekend, no matter what you choose to imbibe in or have fun, because we can cheat every once in a while, as you just kind of said. But we do want to keep that prime health component. But I always tell people that we want this information shared. You would like more people to learn about you. I would like more people to learn about us. But the truth is, if you're listening to this and you heard something that was of value to you, whether you are a patient or a practitioner and know a practitioner that needs some help, please share this with them. Or know a patient that needs some assistance, please share this with them, because if this can help one person, it's a good thing that we're doing. We know it'll help more, but the sharing is more for the people that need it. We want this in front of them so they can make that decision that I do need to take active care in my health in order to make changes in my life. So again, I appreciate that. Selfishly, of course, share the podcast, subscribe to it. Anything you can do, we would appreciate it. So until next time, I always say, remember that true wellness is a journey. We're all on it together, whether you are taking charge of your own health or guiding others on theirs. Every step forward matters. So I ask you to stay committed to your Prime Health journey. And again, Katie, thank you very much for being a guest on the Prime Health Podcast.
Thank you so much for your generosity and giving of your time to do this podcast. And thank you so much for having me.